Boy, my fans, do I have a good one for you today? Probably one of the most prolific, I'm going to say, basketball players, men or women, that I've known of. We have Franthea Price, one of the all-time leading scorers in Big Ten history, All-American at Iowa, Hall of Famer at Iowa, and then went on to be a standout in the WNBA with the Sacramento Monarchs. So welcome to the show, friend. As I call you my little sis, I'm humbled and honored to have you on my show. How are you?
I am doing very well, thank you, and I'm humbled and honored, and it's a great pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
you are more than welcome. You are more than welcome. Listen, there's so much that I want to get into. And when you came out of high school, and obviously being one of the leaders in the country, what made you pick Iowa?
The coach for sure, C. Vivian Stringer. Many probably know that lived in my neighborhood in River Rouge, Michigan, a suburban area of Southwest Detroit. My mother passed away when I was 17 years old. I was a senior in high school. And Coach Stringer and her staff was the only staff that attended my mother's funeral. And it was in a blizzard. It was December of 1985. And it was a blizzard. And that was a great loss for me. And I didn't know how I was going to recover from that. But she was there for me. And so that initiated our relationship. And she has been like a mother to me ever since. So, in addition to the atmosphere at Iowa, most was turned away because it was more or less a place where it wasn't a whole lot to do and it was extremely cold. But I found a family when I went to Iowa. So that's part of the reason why I chose Iowa as well.
Wow. It's interesting because you look at it now with everything with this transfer portal, the NILs, and all this kind of stuff. Crazy question. So, with you knowing about the NIL now and all the money these young people are getting to go from here to there, what do you think your price tag would have been, sis, when you came out of high school? What do you think?
I don't, back then, what the money they're making now, it probably been a lot. I couldn't even fathom it because back then I was considered a player of the year during that year. I was a All-American, Gatorade All-American player of the year. We didn't really have McDonald's All-American so much back then. We did
Right.
have an All-American team that played, but it's not like it is today. So I couldn't even put a number on it, but I would believe it would be pretty big.
It'd have been some shmoneys. Look, I'll put it to you this way: they would have had to do you right. They would have had to breaking you off something proper.
Exact. I agree.
It's interesting. I feel bad because I think a lot of young people, a lot of young student athletes, I think they missed the mark in really getting the college experience because right now this is all about the money, all about going someplace because of how much you can make versus really going for the college experience. You and I have talked behind the scenes before about C. Vivian Stringer and the different things that I would more so say the tutelage that she gave you and the rest of the players that played for her. I have nothing but love and respect for the woman. You know, I met her obviously here when she was at Rutgers.
Hmm.
You know, and just a wonderful spirit, a wonderful person. In your life, do you see or do you think that that part of it is missing from the collegiate experience when it comes to, especially, actually, it really doesn't matter whether it's coaching, boys or coaching young women. Do you think that element is missing? Somebody like a C. Vivian Stringer and the things that she brings to the table as a coach.
Not so much because I liken what Dawn Staley is doing to what C. Vivian Stringer represents.
Mm,
Um, I used to be a teammate of Dawn. We played USA Dawn. We played USA basketball together, and I believe she is that example. But she's taken her own leap and taking strides to be her own person and standing up for what she believes in, and she stands firm for it. And she's not afraid to fight for a cause and fight for those things that she believes in. And that's what Coach Stringer was. Coach Stringer had been coaching since she was probably 21, I believe. And so during that time, when she started recruiting me, she was at a HBCU, Cheney State University. A shout out to all my Cheney sisters. I love you all dearly. You all have been instrumental and inspiration in my life, and I salute each and every one of you. And so Coach String was always instrumental in having us meet each other and actually allow us to get to a space where we became a true sisterhood.
Wow.
And I think Dawn, to me, if I had to look at anyone who would pattern themselves or liken them to anyone, I think Dawn Staley is doing that. And I think the difference is we didn't play for accolades. We love basketball. And it was a way for us to get ourselves recognized where there was no recognition. There's a lot of older players that I have never seen play before. And so for that matter, I can't say that these players today or the players when we played or players before us are the best or not, because I really didn't get a chance to see them that much. Cheryl Miller was a person that I looked to for the sport, but I can't say I ever really had seen her play basketball,
Gotcha.
because we didn't have the same type of deal back in the day. We didn't have the television, the YouTubes, the social media outlets to actually do those things. So I can't really say have a comparison, but I do know we did it for just the love of the sport. It wasn't about the money.
Wow. Wow. That's big. And it's funny. I agree with you with Dawn Staley. I love Dawn. I think that she definitely does embody the characteristics, that Coach Stringer, the foundation that she laid. That's so important.
Yes.
I want to jump into the professional part of it, your professional career. And I know you and I spoke offline about certain things that professional athletes go through. And I'm not exactly sure if the average person who hasn't made it to that level of success when it comes to playing at the professional level really understand the stresses from a mental standpoint, from when you're retired or whatever the case may be, the depressions and different things of that nature. If you don't mind, speak to that. What do you think about that? When you retired from playing, did you have issues in dealing with that part of it and kind of transitioning back into regular society, quote on and speaking to that point? That has to be difficult. I know it's difficult for most that I hear talk about it. It wasn't difficult for me, and I thank God for that.
Um, I would say I didn't recognize the depression because after the sport, I just went on to the next thing to do. And it's always been like that for me. I didn't recognize I was depressed until I actually participated in the junior NBA. They had a thing where we had went to Flint, Michigan during the water crisis, and we did a camp for those young people there. And I was asked a bunch of different questions related to not playing anymore. And it was then I realized that I was depressed. I started eating more. I started to, even though I had a different career. I've been at Kent County Juvenile Detention Center. We work with at risk youth. And I've been there as of today, 20 and a half years. And so I've been there since then, but it wasn't until I got questioned that I had realized that I was really depressed. Because, like I said, I started eating more. I didn't exercise as much as I used to. And I just became a functional, how like they say, a functional alcoholic. I was
Right.
functionally depressed and didn't know it. And so that's why I like to say that the transition wasn't difficult, but I found out later that how difficult it was. I missed the camaraderie with being with teammates, the sisterhood. I got to a place where I was living out of a suitcase because we traveled and stuff so much at certain points. And it took a while for me to just take out my clothes and different things out of the suitcase because I was so used to it. And a matter of fact, I've been playing basketball since I was 4 years old. And I
Mm.
started playing competitively when I was in the third grade. I got special permission from the elementary school principals across the River Rouge area to actually participate with the older kids. So competition wise, I have been playing since I was, in the third grade. So basketball, I felt was the only thing I knew. I really sold myself short because I thought that's all I knew how to do. I didn't think I could do anything else because that's all I did. But then that's when I got older and I realized I said, most people, when I went to work at detention, they didn't even know I was a professional athlete. I never even mentioned it because I didn't want to be defined by the sport anymore because that's how I defined myself. And I didn't want to do that anymore.
Wow, that's incredible stuff. And I think maybe in most cases, people don't speak on it as much, especially when they're retired. They don't really speak on it as much. And speaking on it and dealing with or talking to maybe people that you love and admire, is it an open conversation where it's difficult to have those conversations, or is it a conversation that it's because I know when you and I talk, forget about it. We could talk about any and everything.
All
So
day long.
all day long, it's not
Mm-hmm.
as difficult to have these open dialogue conversations about difficult topics. And again, I hear it so much when you talk to players that are retired. They find it so hard to transition back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, I wonder if there is a platform that's easier for them to kind of have these conversations and make it a little bit easier for them to kind of express themselves.
I think it might be a little easier today than it was yesterday, meaning many prior years past, 10, 15 years ago, because having being an athlete and having some mental issues was taboo. Even talking to a psychiatrist or even a counselor, they would mimic you and mock you as you got some mental health issues, and it really shouldn't be mocked. I think because of a lot of the WNBA players that have come out, like Shamiko Holdsclaw and others, about their mental health issues, I think it's becoming more acceptable to speak on. But back when I was playing, because I experienced a lot of trauma when I was a child, and I think if I would have had a mental health coach, not just a mental health coach, but a sports psychologist type
Mm-hmm.
deal, I think
Right.
it would have helped me deal with a lot of the trauma that I had, and it helped my mind focus more, and have more of that, like the eye of the tiger, that Mamba mentality they speak about today. I think I had it because I wouldn't have had as much success if I did, but I think it would have brought out a lot more if I would have had that psychologist to actually help me see that the certain triggers that would trigger during whether I was playing, whether it was off the court or on the court, I think I would have been able to maximize my abilities and talents more if I would have had that readily available to me.
Wow. Wow. Now it's funny because I obviously myself and many others understood how talented you were as a player. So I want to dig a little bit into give me some of your more memorable moments on the court. So I'm gonna go back. Let me go back to matter of fact, let me go back to high school. What's one or
Okay.
two games that you remember in high school that really sticks in your head like right now? When I say it instantly, what's one or two games that sticks in your head?
There's one game, and that was when I was I think I was a junior going into my it was my junior year in high school, and we were in the national championship, the state championship game against Livonia Ladywood, and I think we were losing the game by 6 points or more with probably a minute or so left. um, the time may be a little inaccurate, but we were losing that game. And so during that process, I stole the ball and I dribbled down and passed the ball to one of my teammates who scores a layup, and we're down, by I think 1 or 2 at the time. So I ended up getting the ability to score about 6 points within the last minute of the game. And then the last steal I got, it was the one that I shot and to win the game, and the time ran out and we actually won that state title. We had went prior before that and we lost to that team. So we went my sophomore year to the state finals and we lost. And then my junior year, we won against the same team in the state final. So that is the game that sticks out to me. And I was exhausted. I just fell out to the floor right after that game ended because I was so exhausted. But that's the
Wow.
most memorable game for me for high school.
Now you already know I'm going to jump to college,
Okay.
and I know you've had a few, but give me 1 or 2 that really sticks out, Fran, that you go back to and say, you know what? Yeah, I remember that.
I think it was one game, Ohio State and Purdue, but specifically in this game, Ohio State was one of our rival teams, and then Purdue was also, because we wore black and gold, but they wore this dirty gold looking color, and so they Ohio State, I think I couldn't miss a shot. Um, and Coach Stringer had 1 point, had told me I had the green light, and I ain't believe her. So what I
Right.
did was I tested it. So I got a steal one time, and I saw my teammate Tony Foster coming down the court, who's also a former WNBA player, and I saw her at my peripheral vision, and I shot a 3 point shot without having a rebounder, but I saw her coming. And so I made the shot. So I thought because I made it, she ain't say nothing. And so I did it again. The next time I got a steal, I did it again and she didn't say nothing. So I was like, oh, she for real. I got the green light. So that game I had probably like close to 30 points in that game, and I shot a significant number of threes. And from that point on, I was like, okay, she's serious. I got the green light, so I'm gonna take it.
That's what's up. That's what's
Yep.
up.
And
Now,
so my freshman year, this is not, it's a memorable game because it was probably the worst game I played in my career, probably. We were playing Louisiana Tech, and Teresa Weatherspoon was the point guard. And I just kept turning the ball over and turning the ball over. Normally, those wouldn't be turnovers. There would be passes to Michelle Edwards, who is a 2 guard on our team at the time. It was her senior year. And we were playing Louisiana Tech in the regional finals to go to the Final Four.
wow,
And Spoon, being the intellectual point guard that she is, she's
that
just
she
one of a
is.
kind. To
Yes.
me, she's the consummate professional, collegiate on any level. She just always been that darling to me. And we always did a 2-3 zone when it came to out of bounds, when they was doing the out of bounds play up under their basket. And I happened to have my back turned to Teresa Weatherspoon, and she threw this ball off of my back. And I said, you will not be embarrassing me. And so I blocked her shot, but it was like, no, from that point on, I never turned my back toward the out of bounds player ever again. So,
Wow.
yeah. So that's
Wow.
another game that I remember.
Remember,
Yeah.
did you face her on the WNBA level as well?
Yes. When I played with Sacramento Monarchs, she played with the Liberty, of course. And I played her that year that I played in the WNBA as well.
Is it interesting to see the same competition that you
Mm-hmm.
faced in college transition into the WNBA at the professional level, that sisterhood? Because I know as a former athlete myself, some of the players that you grew up with, that you went through this whole, this whole transition with, from elementary school to middle school to high school to college. Now you're at the pro level. It's an interesting thing when you get there. You kind of look at each other, and it's like a sigh of relief, but it's a serious bond, a serious brotherhood, because you
Yes.
know what it took to get there. You know what that journey was like. Was it the same way getting into the WNBA after you played against all this talent at the collegiate level?
Yes, it was just an unsurmountable, for me, it was an unsurmountable amount of respect for every player that I either play with or against. And I've had some great teammates. I played, like I said, I played with Dawn early on in her career. We played USA basketball. Um, Ruthie Bolton was one of my teammates at Sacramento, and we played USA basketball. Andrea Stinson. I mean, the names Katrina McClain, Venus Lacey. We all were sisters. Penny Toller was my teammate
Yeah.
as at a certain point too, because of USA basketball. You know, we
Wow.
went to those tryouts. It would be close to a couple of hundred of us there. We were competing each other. We were trying to knock each other heads off. The one person I swear to goodness is Teresa Edwards. I call her T Nice. You know, Teresa Edwards is one of those players that she is so loving and caring off the court,
Right.
but she is a beast on the court. And another person who I respect, who's one of my favorite players too, is Bridget Gordon. And Bridget
Mm.
Gordon is one of my favorite players because she was tenacious on defense. She made me go back and work on my game when I was a freshman. We played Tennessee at Iowa, and that woman wouldn't let me breathe. I mean, she had me like on lockdown, and she made me go work on my game. Seriously,
Wow.
she did.
Wow.
Yes.
And it's interesting, and what a great segue into this last topic. What do you think is missing in today's game when you get a chance and you're watching basketball now? What do you think is missing? Is it the basketball IQ level of it? Is it the that like you said, the hunger, that dog that you got to have in you to get to the next level? Because I watch some of these games. I'm going out now with my wife, and she's scouting certain players for recruiting purposes, and I'm looking, and we're looking at each other like, there's something missing there. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? What do you see in that, friend?
It's that attitude of gratitude that's missing.
Mm,
It's like most of these players now, um, it's like they're privileged. You know, back then we had to work for everything we got. No one gave us anything. And the coaches were able to be as hard on us as necessary. You know, back then we didn't have those 2 hour practices. We had unlimited. They were
right,
unlimited time to practice. And sometimes it just seemed like there are some players that are hungry, but most of them don't appear to be hungry. They don't, it doesn't seem like they don't have, we always felt like we had something to lose if we didn't put our best foot forward. And it
right,
just seemed like, you know, they don't feel like they have anything to lose, you know, because we wanted to make sure we were known all across the United States and
right,
Europe because we didn't have any other way to showcase our talents except we had to go overseas and play. But
right,
now it's becoming a privilege. You know, some of the players that coach, you hear these stories about, you know, they abusing the players and stuff like that. And it's like those players know exactly what it takes to get to the next level, but they're
right,
not willing to accept what it takes to get there. People like Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, you know, they coaching and do it. Why wouldn't you want to listen to them? They've been there, they've done it. They won on every single level.
right,
Cheryl Swoops makes basketball look like she's not even playing that hard.
right,
It
right,
looked like it just comes easy to her. It looked like she ain't going full speed, but when you get up close to her, she blow by you. It's like, oh my goodness, this girl is quicker than what people realize. You know what I'm
absolutely,
saying? So it's like we don't have that tenacity to actually go to the next level. That Mamba mentality, that Teresa Edwards mentality, that Bridget Gordon, you know, Teresa Weatherspoon, one of the consummate point guards that will lock you down. She might not score a lot of points, but her points are scored through defense. And
right,
that's her offense. And so when you look at players like that, you know, you got a lot of players today that can score, but they can't defend and change the game in a defensive type of way than what some of the players when I played against played.
wow, wow. I got about a minute left. I want to ask you this. So, if you had to give advice to a young lady that is trying to pick a university, trying to find a
Mm-hmm.
home, from your perspective, what would that advice be?
Find someone that cares about you, the person. that if you don't never play another game again, they're gonna still be there for you and look out for you. Because that's what I look for. I look for someone who was gonna care about me, the person. Yes, you respect me and want me because of my talent, but don't look at me like I'm a commodity, like I'm just another means to pay your bills or ride my back to get whatever you're trying to get out of me financially and economically. Make sure I'm on that straight and narrow path to get my degree, to be a strong woman of character and integrity, and that's what Coach Stringer gave to me because that's what she presented to us. She often told us, I won't ask you to do no more for me than I would do for you, than I would do myself. So if she gave you 110%, that's what she expected from you. And most of her players will run through a brick wall for her. And I think, like I said, Dawn Staley, I would want to play with Dawn Staley right now, to be totally honest, because when I see her relationship with her players, when I see what she's trying to get for them, she ain't just trying to get for the top players. She's trying to get for all of them, even the ones that's sitting on the bench, because she knows that without those players, the players that's in the top won't be as good. Because in practice, those are the ones who making them the unsung. They the unsung heroes. The one, and she always talk about them. She said the players who don't get to play as much, she's always shouting them out. And to me, Dawn Staley, I would want to I would want to play for her. I swear.
Wow, Fran, that's amazing. Listen, I appreciate you more than you know. I want to thank you for coming on my show. It means a lot. And I know these young people and their parents are going to get something from this episode because this is what it's all about. The give back. Life is all about perspective and, inspiring positive change in the life of others and giving something back. And the day you did that, my sister, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. I love you, and tell my sister and my nephew and great nephew, give them big hugs for me. I love you.
You already know I will. I got you. All right, y'all. This is the legend herself, Franthea Price. Love you, sis.
Love you, bro.
Take care.
You too.
All right.